everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode number 31 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Impact Wrestling history with match number 20 on our list, which, although it's not the greatest Impact or TNA match of all time, it's number 20, so it's still quite good. It is maybe my personal favorite. This match is the six-man tag team match between the SAT of the Amazing Red, Jose and Joel Maximo against Triple X, Low Key, Christopher Daniels, and Elix Skipper from the December 18th, 2002 edition of NWA-TNA. I mentioned in the video about the match to determine the first, X Division champion, that was kind of the match that hooked, myself and a lot of people on TNA, right? That was our first exposure to it. But I'll say, arguably, this is the match that, really solidified that I'm a fan and I love this promotion, and is why I stuck with it, for as long as I did. This match encapsulates everything about those early Asylum years of TNA, and that it has this incredible, athletic, state-of-the-art wrestling match that is surrounded by so much absurdity and weirdness and just general awfulness that it kind of really paints the picture of what was great and what was not so great about NWA-TNA. This match essentially had a show-long build to it. It was an unannounced main event that was just kind of thrown together. This episode, the December 18th, 2002 episode, starts out with an X Division gauntlet match, which is fantastic. It's really, really fun. It's got so many cool moves. It's got a lot of wrestlers, at the time that are kind of forgotten about now. It's got Jason Cross. It's got Ace Steel. It's got Tony Mama Luke. It really is like a who's who, of the early 2000 junior heavyweight scene on the independents that, I feel like a lot of those wrestlers are forgotten about today. So it's a really fun nostalgic trip. It's a great match. Amazing Red goes bell to bell in that match. He's the first entrant and he is the last person eliminated. Shortly after that match, we get I'll say the debut of Triple X, but it's really the return of all three of these guys. So Low Key, Daniels, and Elix Skipper, they come out, they attack Curt Hennig, who, was feuding with BG James, the Road Dogg, and all of these guys at the time. Vince Russo had just kind of started his Sports Entertainment Extreme, or, sex stable at the time. So Triple X debuted, and essentially they were immediately established that they were going to be the X Division representatives for the group. And it sort of made sense as to why they found their way here. None of them were in the initial X Division gauntlet. And all of them had kind of been, shunned out of the X Division for various reasons. For Low Key, it was stated that, NWA-TNA didn't want to work around his Japan commitments that were important to him. So if he wouldn't fully commit to TNA, they would stop booking him. For Christopher Daniels, the flight from him to come in from California, was too expensive, and TNA wouldn't cover it. They didn't think that he was worth the flight. And for Elix Skipper, it was basically just all about pay. So, he wanted more money, lower tier X Division guy. Yes, he was a WCW, star, but TNA said no. So they were all brought back. Vince Russo agreed to give them what they want to be part of his sex stable and to be Triple X. So they debut right after the gauntlet, basically say you just saw, 10 scrubs from the X Division, but we're the real best of the best. They help BG James beat down Curt Hennig. BG James is like an absolutely awful Jim Ross impersonation, which again just shows, at the time how much shade would be casted at, competition, even though the WWF really wasn't anybody's competition at the time. Jeff Jarrett comes out for the save. There's a beatdown on Jeff Jarrett. So this leads to Bullet Bob Armstrong, who was the commissioner of TNA at the time, basically like rallying the troops backstage. So he's got all the X Division guys that had just competed in this grueling gauntlet match, and basically says like, come on, we're not going to let these guys walk all over us. Who's going to help us out? Later on in the show, BG James fights R-Truth in Ron the Truth Killings at the time, in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Triple X again interferes, helps BG James wins. Bullet Bob comes out, he brings the SAT and Red out with him, basically says, I rallied the troops, I found some guys, and you know, they're gonna kick your butts. And that's where we get this impromptu 6-man tag team main event. And the thing that I really, really loved about this match, you know, we'll get to the heat sequence on Amazing Red, you know, later on, which is one of the best of all time. But you know, we'll talk about how this match accomplished so many goals. It would have been very easy to debut Triple X and have them steamroll people, right? And get them over as a legitimate force. But what they did here is, although, you know, they're presented very well, they do a great job, they control a lot of the match, they end up winning, you know, when all is said and done, they didn't do it at the expense of anybody. And for as good as this match made Triple X look, where you go like, wow, these guys are incredible, like this is a new stable to watch, Red and the SAT are spotlighted so well that they come out of this match looking just as good as Triple X. So, and I think that's really hard to do when you're debuting somebody and you want to keep them strong, but to have the opponents look just as good. And this match accomplished that. It goes about 20 minutes, and they just did a phenomenal job. And very early on, you know, even though Triple X are the new guys on the block, the SAT and Red dominated, which again I thought was very smart. You know, they're cousins or, you know, and or brothers, right? So, you know, they are family. They are used to teaming together. They're an established unit. So it makes sense that they would use their tag team expertise and all of their crazy triple teams that, you know, they did at the time that you've never seen anybody do since, you know, to dominate these three guys that were essentially, you know, all very, very good as their own, you know, respective singles, but that were thrown together as a team, right? The SAT, they do so many cool stuff. They do the tappy machine, which is like Boston Crab, camel clutch combo while Red hits a drop kick. The sequences they do are so good. And, you know, the SAT got a lot of flack at the time of being, you know, spotty and, you know, having a lot of botches and doing a lot of reckless, dangerous moves that a lot of guys didn't want to take. But, you know, watching this 19 years later, you really realize how ahead of the curve and how innovative they were. I loved them at the time. Amazing Red is you know, arguably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and someone that is, you know, immensely responsible for me becoming a fan of independent wrestling. You know, just like he was for so many wrestlers, and I mentioned this about him before, you know, he was an influence on fans as well, and he really hooked me. The Face and Perel, you know, sequence that they do with Red in this match, I truly feel is one of the greatest of all times. It's very long, it's extended. Every time, you know, it seems like he's going to make a tag, he gets cut off. He hits these incredible hope spots, you know, a tilt-a-whirl DDT. He counters, you know, Loki's Crush Rush, which is basically like a fisherman's hold, ran into the buckles, like into a run, into the buckles. He hits, you know, the Code Red, right, which he was one of the innovators of. You know, he finally gets a hot tag. We go into a big move exchange. You know, we've got the best moonsault ever. We've got the Maximo explosion. You know, Loki misses a Phoenix splash. You know, Red misses the infrared, which is like a sky twister press. And then they go back into another heat sequence on Red. So you get not one, but two. You get this little, you know, blip of hope and fast-paced action between them, and it goes back to the heat. And it leads to my favorite moment ever in TNA. One of my favorite moments ever in wrestling. You can see it in the screen capture for this. Don West, who, you know, when he was brought on as a commentator, again, got a lot of flack, had no wrestling experience, but I loved it because the dude just came across like a legitimate fan. I'm a fan. I love seeing a fan, you know, kind of in that role. And he does, you know, commentators generally don't show bias, but he does something. He stands on the announcer's table and just with all of the passion in the world, red in the face, borderline tears in his eyes, he starts chanting, "Go Red, go. Go Red, go," and starts, you know, getting the crowd into "Go Red, go," you know, as they cheer Amazing Red on, you know, to make the hot tag. He hits the red alert for 2. He gets the red star press, right? The originator of the standing shooting star that seems like everybody and their mother does now. You know, while the SAT and the remaining members of Triple X, Skipper and Daniels, brawl on the floor, it's down to Loki and Red, and Key takes Red up top and he goes for the Avalanche Key Crusher, which is a move that they used in their Ring of Honor match, you know, their famous match from Road to the Title. Red blocks it. The SAT come in and they go for the Spanish Fly on Key, and that's something that makes me laugh. So the SAT, you know, they originated the Spanish Fly, right? Two guys, you know, moonsault Uranagi from the top rope. And it's so funny because now we're so used to, you know, singular guys doing it and it being done off the mat. I remember when Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles, they started teaming in New Japan, they did the original Spanish Fly, and I saw it referred to by a bunch of people as like a two-man Spanish Fly. Or, you know, if someone does one off the top, it's a top rope Spanish Fly. No, the Spanish Fly is a move done with two teammates done together off the top rope. Anything else is a variation on it. That is the original true Spanish Fly. So the SAT, they go for it. They get cut off. They both go for like turnaround crossbodies off the top. They miss. They get hit with Skipper and Daniels' respective finishing moves, the last rights in the play of the day, and that leads to Key hitting the Avalanche Key Crusher, which Red sells like absolute death for the 3 count to just cap off an absolutely amazing 6-man tag team match that I love unconditionally with all of my heart. And then just in classic NWA-TNA fashion, the post match is just, it's so convoluted. Kurt Hennig runs out to try to get, his revenge from earlier. They try to put him through a table. Jeff Jarrett, makes the save. He's jumped by David Flair, who comes out with like an axe and, attempts to murder Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett somehow gets the best of him. AJ Styles runs out and attacks Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time, and AJ Styles had mentioned that, he was coming for Jarrett, and they had started a bit of a program there. Vince Russo comes out and grabs the axe that David Flair had and starts destroying the TNA set, tearing it down with an axe, which would lead to a new set, the following week. And again, it just it shows you that they had this incredible match. They gave it no time to breathe whatsoever, and they immediately started with the Vince Russo heavy shenanigans. I mean, David Flair was involved. What more can you say about it? This match is so much fun, though. It is so great. It's a match filled with crazy spots, great heat, a passionate announcer, a passionate crowd, an unbelievable babyface performance from one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time in the Amazing Red. And I love it so very much. And I hope that you love it too. If you've never seen it, or if you want to revisit it, you can watch it on Impact Plus. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.